hard to believe. Hillary Clinton scrambling to regain some ground, lost to Donald Trump in the key battleground states.
And there's a lot of them, and some of them were red, and now they've gone purple. Fox News national correspondent John Roberts is live in Wilmington, North Carolina. Hey, John.
Hey, good morning to you, Brian. Steve Ainsley, North Carolina, a place where Donald Trump's fortunes are beginning to look up. A new Elon University poll that was released late yesterday has got him leading Hillary Clinton by a single point, 44 to 43. This kind of is in keeping with the Suffolk University poll that was out last week that showed him up by 3 points. And in Ohio, where Donald Trump is going to spend the day today, he's up anywhere between 3 and 5 points. Now, Donald Trump really needs North Carolina as an alternate route to the White House should he not be able to flip Pennsylvania. You know, he needs to win Ohio and Florida, but if he gets a combination of, say, North Carolina and Iowa and Nevada, instead of winning Pennsylvania, he can beat Hillary Clinton and get to 270 before her. In terms of Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump spent the day here in North Carolina yesterday going at Hillary Clinton very hard over the issue of terrorism, suggesting that immigration policies pursued by her and the Obama administration have allowed people in this country who want to attack America, telling an audience in Kenansville, North Carolina, just north of us yesterday, that Hillary Clinton's got her priorities all backward when it comes to looking after the American people versus looking after international interests. Here's Trump from yesterday.
Hillary Clinton is the vessel for all of the global special interests seeking to run our government and our lives. And it's not going to happen anymore. It's a gravy train, and it just keeps flowing. On November 8th, that special interest gravy train is coming to a very abrupt end.
For her part, Hillary Clinton was off the campaign trail yesterday doing debate prep according to her campaign, but curious that she canceled a big fundraiser in Chapel Hill, North Carolina yesterday. She will be back on the trail today. She's got a small event in Florida, in Orlando, and then a fundraiser as well. Donald Trump with a full slate of events beginning at 9 o'clock this morning. He's in Cleveland, then he goes to Toledo, Ohio, and then he's got some other events later in the day in the Buckeye State. So full day of campaign.
Yeah, he's going to be with Sean tonight.
Right, Steve Ainsley?
Yeah, he's going to be with Sean Hannity tonight.
He'll do Hannity.
All right.
They will.
It's odd, though, that she canceled that event in North Carolina when he's winning in the polls and she needs that money. But
right. People are wondering what's up with that. Meanwhile, straight ahead.
Talk about a wedding crasher. A bride and a groom nearly smashed by a massive falling tree, and the whole thing's caught on camera.
Oh, my goodness.
Right. And Dave Ramsey takes your questions about small business success, and he has a big surprise. And just for you, that surprise is coming your way. That story's next. Why does he always have business? All right, it looks like small businesses will do fine no matter who is elected president. Don't ask me how I know.
A new survey finds only 12% of small business owners are worried about the outcome of the presidential elections and the impact on their bottom line.
But there are some key issues, and entrepreneurs are concerned about that.
The best-selling author, we call him Dave Ramsey, joins us now to talk about leadership, and he is live to answer some viewer questions and emails. And I'm surprised, Dave, that this doesn't matter, because regulation and health care has everything to do with the administration's philosophy, which affect, I would think, a small business's bottom line.
Well, it does affect our bottom line. For instance, I'm a small business owner. My health care costs went up over $1 million last year under Obama. And that means that I can't hire people with that $1 million. So it does affect us. But those of us that are small business people, we also understand that we are the secret sauce, not some bozo in the White House. So we've survived Republicans and Democrats in the White House and prospered in spite of them. And that's the way we look at it.
All right, Dave, we got some emails from some of our viewers, and we want to read some of those and have you answer them, please. This first one is from Garrett, and he's from California. He says he's a contractor, operated the past 4 years with no debt. I just signed a contract to triple my income, but I have to purchase new equipment in order to complete the job. I don't have the cash, so what should I do?
You rent the equipment. I grew up in the real estate and construction business, and we like toys. We like big boy toys. And if you go get in debt for that equipment, when that job's over, you won't have the job anymore, but you'll still have the payments. So no, rent the equipment or outsource to another subcontractor that does own the equipment. Do not go into debt for that. Mistake, mistake, mistake.
Great idea. All right, Rosalie from New Jersey writes this. My boss takes personal expenses out of the business, including paying for his 3 grown kids' mortgages.
Oh.
I'm concerned this is destructive to the business. How do I convince him to stop? Rosalie wants to know.
Well, it's probably destructive to his grown kids because it sounds like he's an enabler. But, it's bad accounting at a minimum. If he's taking enough money out of the business that it's causing the business to struggle,
is it legal?
Certainly it's a bad practice, But here's the thing. If you're an employee of a business guy or business gal, unless they've asked your opinion, they don't really want it. If you don't want to work for him because he's irresponsible, go work somewhere else. Unless you were hired to take care of the money there, it's probably not any of your business.
All right, Sarah writes this from California. Do I need an emergency fund for my business?
Oh, absolutely. In business, we call it retained earnings, and we teach people in EntreLeadership to save a percentage of their net profits every month to grow the effectively called an emergency fund for business, and set money aside for savings. That way you can grow the business, buy equipment, put out a new idea or a new product, or survive a downturn or some seasonality.
Yeah. It's hard to believe, but Dave, it was 5 years ago you came on this program to talk about your book, EntreLeadership. It has been a big bestseller, and now for the vast Fox and Friends viewing audience, you got a surprise, don't you?
Well, we do. Brian and I stood outside on the sidewalk in front of the big EntreLeadership bus, and it seemed like it was 20 minutes ago. It was a #1 bestseller, and we do one-day events called EntreLeadership. We're doing one of them is all this fall in Kansas City on October 19th, and we're going to live stream it, and the tickets are on sale for the live stream. But what we're going to do in honor of the 5-year anniversary is for the first 500 people to go to my website, DaveRamsey.com, right now. We're going to give you a live stream ticket. We're going to give you a copy of EntreLeadership ebook and a copy of the audio book for EntreLeadership, completely free, just to say thank you to all you business folks that have supported that EntreLeadership brand and have come out to our events all these years.
Excellent. Well, so people can either go to DaveRamsey.com or go to our website, FoxandFriends.com, for more information.
Thank you, Dave.
That's great.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
You bet.
No problem. And by the way, as David was mentioning with healthcare, it's amazing what's happening in Obamacare. No one's even talking about the fact that it's imploding.
Yeah, not doing.
And no one can even run on it.
I like what he said about enabling your children, these parents that pay the mortgages of their kids. What?
Who knew? That was legal. All right, meanwhile, straight ahead, we've got a Fox News alert breaking details about the accused bomber in New Jersey and New York, that guy right there. Now, his neighbor says he does not think that man was acting alone.
Neither do I. And is it Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, or Frank Caliendo? The comedian shows off his impressions for the political seasons, and I have a hunch he's going to put us in tears. Wave
I'll
back.
get the Kleenex for
Is he
you,
going to wave
Brian.
back to us or not? Hey, Frank Caliendo coming up shortly.
That's right. We're 90 minutes into the program, 90 more, but time for some news.
That's right. Heather has a Fox News alert for you.
I certainly do. We're getting some brand new details in about what happened over the weekend, unfolding right now in the case of that chicken shop terrorist charged with planting bombs in at least 4 different locations in New York and New Jersey over the weekend. Ahmed Rahimi's wife is now being questioned in Pakistan after she fled the country with their child just weeks before the terror attacks took place. This as Rahimi's own father admits that he reported his son to the feds years ago. Take a look at this new surveillance video that we are now getting in. Police say that right there in the lit up area is Rahimi dragging a suitcase just moments before that bomb went off in New York City. But according to his neighbor, he may not have been acting alone. We'll bring you more information as we get it. Well, millions of people in the South dealing with massive gas price hikes and shortages this morning. States including Georgia, Alabama, and South Carolina are seeing their prices spike more than a quarter in just the last week since a major supply pipeline broke open. That pipeline is expected to be back up and running today with some sort of a temporary fix, but it'll take days to get gas back to those southern states. Mother Nature then crashes a wedding. Take a look here. Oh no, an enormous tree sending a bride, groom, and guests running for cover. This happened in Kentucky. No one was hurt. The bride said she never laughed so hard in her life, which is a great way to start a life with her best friend. Look at that branch coming down. Wow. And sources close to Brad Pitt saying Angelina Jolie just, quote, unleashed hell. The A-lister reportedly furious with his soon-to-be ex-wife for going public with their split. According to TMZ, Pitt's accusing Jolie of putting their children in danger by attracting a whirlwind of paparazzi. The pair possibly gearing up for a vicious custody battle, with Jolie seeking sole physical custody of all 6 children. Rumors about Brad's alleged drug abuse, even accusations that he's having an affair with his allied co-star, the actress Marion Cotillard, now sweeping the globe even before the dust has settled on their divorce papers. And those are your headlines. Quite a panoply of news this morning, certainly.
If that's true, does this guy have one moment alone?
I don't know, Brian.
He is a man of many voices. So many voices we can't keep track of them. Everybody from Donald Trump and Bill Clinton to John Gruden and John Madden.
So what do those guys think about the presidential election?
Well, let's talk to comedian Frank Caliendo, who joins us right now. Hello, Frank.
That looked presidential? How was that? I almost went Trump right away. This is a tremendous job. You guys are doing really a great job. And let me say this. Your ratings are great, and they're getting even better right now. This is going to be the #1 rated segment you've ever done, not just because I'm here, but because Kill Meat isn't in it. That's the big problem. That's part of it.
You've got the voice, you got the mouth, you need the hair.
Well, yes, swirl it around, get some balloons, and write out Donald Trump. And yeah, he's got this thing. It's amazing. And I try not to take any sides, especially with my comedy.
Sure.
I don't go anywhere. I kind of run down the middle and make fun of everybody. But Trump is amazing to me because he can create his own facts. I've never seen anybody with that ability. And he does it like this. He'll say at the end of something, he'll say, and everybody knows it.
Yeah.
And like, there's a colony of people on Mars. 100% of those people are voting for me, and everybody knows it. And then you'd think it would end there. But then you'll walk down the street and you'll hear people like, did you hear about the colony of people on Mars? 100% of them are voting for Donald Trump. Yeah, everybody knows it. It's tremendous. It really is. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to make America great again. And then I'm going to make the planet great again. And then I'm going to make the solar system great again, the galaxy great again. And then I'm going to make the universe great again. I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to make every universe great again. The Marvel universe, the DC universe, Spider-Man, Batman, and I will be fighting crime, throwing batarangs, spinning webs, and combing our hair in a circle and letting Jimmy Fallon
awesome.
mess it up.
I know you don't take sides, but when he got the nomination, you had to be thrilled.
Well,
right?
My wife does go around telling people to vote for Donald Trump just to, this is what she says, vote for Donald Trump or you're taking food out of our daughter's mouth.
Right?
I'm like, just settle down a little bit.
For a backup plan, were you working on your John Kasich?
Well, my wife is from Ohio, and people say, what do you do with Hillary Clinton?
Yeah.
And she has this kind of thing where she just kind of yells out at people.
Oh, let's hear that.
It's not very good, but she'll do
okay.
that. I'm feeling great. It's almost like JFK without the accent. What are you doing?
You would have much preferred Bernie Sanders.
Yeah,
I
don't have a great Bernie. I've seen some people with some great Bernie.
How hard is it?
Yeah,
you just have to talk with your arms.
Right, there it is. It's almost Jackie Mason. What makes a voice to do? Yeah, it is interesting to watch. We've had the biggest characters I think we've ever seen. But when George W. Bush was nominated, people were like, there's nothing to do with it, and we all figured something out.
Yeah, you were good with him. You were definitely good with him. What about Bill Clinton?
Well, if that means if Hillary's elected, I am back and there will be no rules. This is going to be great. She'll be talking to other world leaders. I'll do whatever I can. I'll be 100 years old, but I can still get around.
How do you think it's going to work, logistically with Bill Clinton as the first gentleman if she does win?
Well, he was about to get himself in a lot of trouble right now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Because even people on the colonies on Mars are talking about Bill Clinton as first gentleman.
And I'm not the only one saying that. That's the other thing Trump does, and I'm not the only one saying. Who else is saying it? Other people.
Do you do Jeb?
No. Would anybody know if I was doing Jeb? He's a very low energy person. He's a tiny, low energy. Yeah.
Clap, please.
Yeah. There we go. It's incredible.
Well, what are you up to these days?
Doing some stuff over at ESPN, some football stuff. It's not like every week, but every once in a while. It's really good. And doing live shows out on the East Coast. FrankOnStage.com lets you know where all the tickets are.
That's my homepage.
Yeah, right? Don't you go there? You just click, your computer's on, and there you go. Football season's great, too. And I love football season for one reason. It's not even the football. It's the Terry Bradshaw commercials.
Oh, sure.
Because it's every commercial he's in, it's like they start the commercial, they're like, just let him do whatever he wants. Because you get halfway through it, like the shingles commercial. He shows up at somebody's door, hi, I'm Terry Bradshaw, and I have shingles. Let me come in your house, sit on your couch, and tell you about it. Hey, Terry, could you tell me from the car? Do you have a cell phone? You got cell phone service? That would help us all out. They're laughing harder back there. That's like when Dennis Miller starts to get excited about it. When Dennis Miller enjoys himself on O'Reilly, right? There's nothing better than that. When he starts, Billy, I've never heard anything. Don't interrupt me, Deucey. I haven't seen anything like this since Megyn Kelly was teaching Frank Luntz karate in the Cantina bar and Star Wars. And then O'Reilly will shut him down. Come on, Dennis, that never happened. I know, Billy, but you're seeing it in your head right now. It's crazy, Billy. It's crazy.
That is amazing. When did you start doing this?
Acting like a complete moron?
Yeah.
Early on. You know what? Billy! I just can't get over it. I'm tearing up there, Billy. I'm tearing up like your last interview when you made the person cry. I don't even know who it was, and I know every reference in the history of Western civilization. Where's Frank Luntz? We gotta do some buttons.
Oh my God.
Where's Luntz? Luntz.
Frank is fantastic. Catch him.
Great.
He's all over the country.
How you tried to do an actual interview, and I just acted like
I'm just amazed. I'm in awe by you.
I know.
I'm sitting here listening to you do this. I'm like, you're not nervous to do this. You're not embarrassed to do it. You've done it your whole life.
That's what I really like to hear. You're not embarrassed to do what you're doing. Come see me at the Paramount Theater, Belmont, Montclair, all over Oklahoma City. I'm everywhere. FrankOnStage.com.
Hartford, Montclair,
so
Long
talented.
Island, AC, Las Vegas. Oh, we're going to be in Vegas for the debates.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Guess who's going to win that? By 100%.
People on Mars are talking about
Everybody knows it.
All right. Frank Caliendo, always a pleasure.
It's the fish face. It works.
Oh, my gosh.
And we're clear. Let's do it again.
All right, Frank, thanks. President Obama taking on Donald Trump in front of the UN.
Today, a nation ringed by walls would only imprison itself. The answer cannot be a simple rejection of global integration.
But our next guest says that may come back to bite Hillary Clinton.
And stop and look at this. A hug nearly 20 years in the making when a man finally gets to thank the officer who saved his life 2 decades ago when he was 5 years old. That man and the officer are going to join us live with their emotional reunion next.
You watched this yesterday, President Obama using his final speech at the United Nations General Assembly to take a jab, many jabs, at Donald Trump.
Today, a nation ringed by walls would only imprison itself. The answer cannot be a simple rejection of global integration.
He also talked about nationalism as if it's Donald Trump's fault. Could this come back to hurt Hillary? Here to weigh in, High News Strategies founder, yes, that's her, from the Washington Examiner, Fox News contributor Lisa Booth. Lisa, a lot of people are penning the president's final address. Some are praising it. How does it affect Hillary?
Well, I think it affects Hillary because, once again, we're seeing this call from him for the rise of globalism, this desire to accept more Syrian refugees. And I think there are legitimate concerns in America right now, particularly on the heels of the New York City bombing, of the stabbings in Minnesota. There are concerns about potentially what Syrian refugees could mean to this country and national security concerns. And we saw just the other day what happened when the government accidentally gave 1,800 immigrants from countries of national security concerns, mistakenly gave them citizenship. So we can't trust the government in that vetting process.
So you have the President of the United States kind of alluding, like he did in 2012 when he was going against Mitt Romney to try to keep the seat, which he won, going at Donald Trump and talking about nationalism. Does he realize that Donald Trump didn't start nationalism, that Brexit's an example of nationalism? What's happening in Europe with the throwing out the sitting parties is happening? It's not Donald Trump's fault. Part of his rise is because of it.
Well, and I think there's also concerns, not just in America, but across the world about what open borders means and what open borders means for national security concerns in the world. I mean, we look at even the fact, just the easy access from country to country and what that meant for cities like Paris and attacks in Paris. And then you look at the fact that CIA Director John Brennan testified before the Senate Intelligence Committee specifically regarding Syrian refugees, saying that ISIS would penetrate the West through Syrian migrants. You see someone like FBI Director James Comey testified before the Homeland Security Committee, the House Homeland Security Committee, that it's very difficult to thoroughly vet Syrian refugees.
He also says, you know, the president yesterday, we had to recognize we're a world community. You mentioned, you saw about the reference to the wall. Obviously, build the wall is big with Donald Trump, giving women a full role in society as if Donald Trump's against that. And, of course, rally around the country and have national pride. The problem is, if Hillary Clinton separates herself from that, she separates herself from Barack Obama. Her only hope is Barack Obama and his 54% approval rating.
Well, I think what Donald Trump needs to do is to take that speech, take some of these national security concerns and say, President Obama doesn't get it. Hillary Clinton doesn't get it. And going back to the Syrian refugees, they want a 500% increase. And the problem for Hillary Clinton right now, she's having a really difficult time, politically speaking, of rebuilding President Obama's coalition. She's not hitting his 2012 margins with African Americans, Hispanics, women, millennials. And the problem for her is that the fact that Hillary Clinton, or President Obama, regardless of what you think of his policies, he was an exceptional candidate and he had a message. Hillary Clinton is a lackluster candidate and she has no message. And that's why we're seeing her be unable to resonate with voters to the degree that President Obama was able to.
Lisa, you study these things extensively. Do you think Michelle Obama and Barack Obama and Vice President Biden could make up the Hillary Clinton shortcomings through October, regardless of how the debates come out? Because clearly, as a campaigner, she's either invisible or inadequate.
Well, I think that they could help move the needle with some voters, but at the end of the day, voters are voting for her. And she is not a likable candidate. That's something that she has long struggled with. And as I just mentioned, she's not hitting those President Obama margins in 2012 with those key voters that she desperately needs to try to win this election. And that's her biggest problem, is herself.
All right, Lisa Booth, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, meanwhile, coming up straight ahead as we finish up this hour, a police officer saves a little boy from drowning. And 20 years later, that boy, now a grown man, finally gets to thank him for his bravery and introduce him to his son. This man and his hero join us live next hour. There they are.
An emotional reunion going viral. A young man thanked the police officer who saved his life as a little boy when he was just 5 years old, nearly 20 years later.
Remember me? That's 1997. Well, the 5-year-old out of the swimming pool saved his life. Wow. Because of you, I'm still here. Because of you, this 5-year-old little girl right here is here.
Gosh, he got emotional, surprising Officer Poole. That video has been viewed more than 230,000 times. Here to tell their story is Officer James Poole and Chris Jones. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Now, Chris, you're here today because of this wonderful man sitting next to you. What do you remember about that day?
I remember, just being out with my classmates during summer school. We're going to a pool. It's kind of crowded, so I kind of wanted to go off and do my own little thing. Long story short, jumped in, not knowing how to swim, sank to the bottom, started panicking, freaking out. Essentially ended up blacking out. And I believe I was told I was down there for at least 20 minutes. My heart had stopped for 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And the first time I came to, I was being put in the ambulance and had no idea what was going on, how I got there, and ended up going to the hospital, seeing my parents there. And when I finally came to, again, in the hospital bed, they had told me what had happened. and essentially told me that, you know, Officer Poole was the reason that I'm still alive.
Yeah, it's true. Officer Poole, your name is fitting. What do you think about when you remember that day?
Well, it has been 19 years ago, and just like many other officers, you know, first responders, you know, we have to do quick reactions. What I do recall is responding to that location, you know, seeing this child in the water, going after the child, you know, doing what I can do as a rookie, as a new officer, you know, and also having a child myself during that time, approximately around the same age.
You're a hero.
And just thinking, you know, this could be my child as well.
Right,
and,
that's what gets you. You know, when I hear your story, I'm a new mother too, and Chris, I just think your parents are probably so just blessed to have you, and to, they probably have thanked Officer Poole a million times. But for you as a parent, I watched in that video, you got emotional when you looked over and you saw your daughter. What was that like to introduce your 5-year-old now to the man who saved your life when you were her age?
It was, to be honest, you guys didn't get my full emotion. I fought so hard to hold back the tears that I wanted to let go because I didn't know how, you know, if I'd have sat there and bawled for 20 minutes or not. But just the simple fact that because of this man, I'm here and I have my daughter here. She's such a blessing, not only to my life, but the lives of so many people around. You know, she lights up people's worlds, she lights up my world, and she may not have understood the significance at this point in time, but I wanted her to, you know, meet the person who's responsible for her being here. And, you know, when she gets older, she'll probably realize, and I'll explain to her again, who he is exactly, and she'll probably want to come meet him again.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for sharing your story and for thanking Officer Poole. We need more people like you. Officer Poole, you are a hero. And we want to hear your folks at home that are watching, send us in your emails if you have an everyday hero too. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Good morning. Today is Wednesday. It's September 21st. I'm Ainsley Earhart. We start with this, a Fox News alert. Chaos overnight as protest against police raged down in Charlotte, North Carolina after a deadly officer-involved shooting. The protesters even pelting the police officers with rocks and bricks, setting fires, smashing cruisers, shutting down traffic for hours.
Meanwhile, brand new details about the chicken shop terrorist. Turns out he was reported to the FBI by his own father 2 years ago.
You talked to the FBI and tell them that your son was involved in terrorism overseas. And what did they say?
They're not doing the job.
So how did that slip through the cracks? We've got some answers, maybe.
Yeah, we do. And Hillary Clinton rolls out a brand new foreign policy plan. Tough vetting. Wait, haven't we heard that before?
I believe she mentioned the term extreme vetting. Where did you hear extreme vetting before? Only from me.
Yep, and she's stealing lines from Donald Trump. We report, you decide. Let me remind you, and now that at home, your mornings are better with friends.
Who?
We've got a Fox News alert for you as you start your day. At least a dozen police officers hurt after riots exploded overnight in Charlotte.
This disturbing video showing an officer hit in the head right there on the ground. That guy was hit in the head with a brick. Looters are setting fires. They're storming stores, all after police shot and killed a man that they say aimed a gun at them.
Abby Huntsman is live here with the breaking details unfolding overnight, and she was covering it through the morning and still does. Hey, Abby.
Hey, good morning. Brian Ainsley and Steve, we have been following this all morning. Massive and angry crowds taking over the streets of Charlotte, North Carolina overnight, hours after police shoot and kill a man that they say aimed a gun at them. Rioters shutting down traffic on Interstate 85, looting cargo trucks and setting things on fire. Police standing guard outside a Walmart. You can see they're surrounded by shattered glass after looters take over that store. And this incredible video showing rioters jumping on top of a police cruiser, other cop cars
cars kicked and destroyed with rocks. Officers dressed in riot gear trying to control the crowds by standing in line. But as the night escalated, they were forced to deploy tear gas. At least 12 officers are hurt, including that one that we showed you earlier, hit in the face with a brick. The protests breaking out hours after police shot and killed 43-year-old Keith Scott. Officers were looking for another man when they saw Scott get out of his car holding a gun. Well, police say he was a threat, but Scott's sister claims he is disabled and was just waiting for his son to come home from school.
They jumped out their truck. They said, hands up. He got a gun. He got a gun. Pow, 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 pow. That's it. He had no gun.
So you heard it there. His family insisting he was holding a book, but investigators say they did recover his gun from the scene. His daughter live streamed the aftermath on Facebook. Well, the officer who pulled the trigger is now on administrative leave. At least 4 protesters are now under arrest, hoping that things calm down before tonight, you guys.
And you told us earlier that there's a possibility of more trouble tonight, right?
Yeah, we're hoping for the best, but that is what people are thinking.
All right. Abby Huntsman, thank you very much.
Thanks, Abby.
Meanwhile, we're hoping for the best. We also want to get some answers. We want some answers from the New York, New Jersey bomber that had 2 bombs in New York, 2 bombs in New Jersey, and thankfully nobody was killed, but 29 were indeed hurt. We're talking about Ahmed Rahami. He's in jail, and he's not speaking, we understand, to interrogators, and I'm sure he's lawyered up, and I'm not sure if he's been read his Miranda rights, but there were signs that this guy was trouble.
Yeah, we're learning so much about him this morning. Bomb ingredients he bought on eBay. He had a journal on him when police were shooting him. And the journal inside said, "Death to your oppression, gunshots to your police, sounds of bombs will be heard in the streets." And he had a cell phone video, basically a trial run, that was followed by smoke. He was like burying some sort of a cylinder in his backyard and then set it on fire and then was running away laughing.
Okay, so these are things we know now, today, 2016. But you know what? 2 years ago, the father of this guy actually went to the FBI and said, "My son, he's a terrorist." What did the FBI do? Here's the dad.
What happened? He's doing bad.
He's doing bad? What did he do bad?
He stopped my son. He hit my wife, and I put him in the jail 2 years ago.
Who's he? What son did he stab?
Nassim.
Okay, what happened? Why did he stab
He for no reason. 2 years ago, I called the API. My son, he's doing very bad, okay? But they checked it almost 2 months.
Still going on, guys.
He's okay.
We don't know yet.
He's not terrorist. I said, okay. Now he says he's a terrorist. I said, okay.
Yeah, he says okay, but he also said, "I retract the charges." Right. And that was one of the
when the FBI
then.
came to question him.
So the FBI says, "Listen, we couldn't do anything because they retracted the charges." But could you have questioned him in
particular?
particular?
Who do you trust, though?
Which they did not.
Who do you trust? Because the neighbors are saying this was a bad guy, that he was not doing this alone. The father is saying that, but then when the FBI questions him, he says, "You know what? Never mind." The sister is posting stuff on Facebook, quotes from Anwar al-Awlaki. The brother has on his Facebook a picture of jihad, supporting jihad.
Troubling stuff. Had the FBI agents actually, to Brian's point, been able to talk to the terrorist, maybe that would have shed some light on it. Maybe if the FBI had known that the terrorist, had gone to Afghanistan and Pakistan 3 times, stayed in Pakistan for over a year once, maybe that would have made a difference. Maybe if they would have known that apparently he became very religious, maybe radicalized during one of the visits, because his friends have said, look, when he came back, he was all different. You know what? Some people are saying that the police missed connecting some dots. And we got to point out, the police did an unbelievable job. Once the explosions happened, within 50 hours, they figured out who the guy was, and they caught him.
Yeah, you're right.
But ever since 9/11, there has been the push to do things, but do it in such a PC way. There are some who feel that our officers are handcuffed by the PC culture at law enforcement. Congressman Henry Cuellar from Texas was with this program earlier today. He had this to say about that.
PC cannot stand in the way of law enforcement doing its job.
Right.
We have to make sure that we let the men and women do our job. We got to make sure that the Intelligence Committee, our law enforcement, FBI, that they do their job. And then unfortunately, PC does get in the way sometimes. And again, I want to be respectful of religion. I want to be respectful of cultures. But at the same time, law enforcement has to do its job.
You know, Governor Cuomo said law enforcement has to do its job, so law enforcement's got to go find out what went wrong here, and possibly pursue who helped him. Governor Cuomo says the predominant operating theory is that he had help.
Right. Right,
So
and the neighbor said he had some bad connections. You know, it's interesting, too, if you look at, you were talking about him traveling overseas to the Middle East. If you look at some of these cities that he went to, you would only go there, the experts are saying, if you had ties to terror, you're interested in joining one of these sects. Right. That's what Dr. Gorka was saying last night, and also this man that you're about to hear from, he was a former extremist, so he knows all too well what these guys do over there in the Middle East. Listen.
The city of Quetta isn't just a city you go and visit in Pakistan. I'm of Pakistani origin. It would be incredibly strange for me to visit Quetta. Now, I have visited Quetta, but I have visited Quetta to speak to hundreds of youth in the universities to warn them against joining extremist groups. The reason you wouldn't visit Quetta ordinarily is, first of all, Afghans aren't originally from Quetta. It would be strange for him to have family based in Quetta. If he went to Peshawar, I could probably understand it a bit more. But secondly, it's a conflict zone. It's like the average American getting up and going to see Belfast at the height of the troubles in Northern Ireland. It's a war zone. There's currently a civil war going on in Quetta. That in itself should have raised alarm bells for American authorities.
And by the way, his wife, who's over there, has went over to Qatar. They've caught up the suspect's wife, and they caught up with her. No word yet if she is actually talking and cooperating, because the mom of the bomber, who the dad said was a terrorist 2 years ago, disappeared about a few months ago, right before this attack. We don't know if this is indicative.
Wait, the mother, the suspect's mother disappeared?
Yes, disappeared
too. We don't know where
she
is now?
She's traveled overseas.
Right, a little suspicious in the timing. Meanwhile, President Obama here in New York City yesterday, appearing before the United Nations General Assembly, made it very clear the United States and the whole world, we need to take in more refugees. This, at the same time, there's an op-ed in the New York Times yesterday by the mayors of Paris and London and New York City saying the same thing. Yeah. We want more unscreened refugees because, they write, our immigrants are our strength. The mayor of London, Mayor Khan, warned New Yorkers this week, and he is pictured far right there, warned New Yorkers that terror attacks are now part and parcel to regular life in the West, and that Americans should just get used to terror.
Oh, I love that the mayor of London is telling us what we need to do. Thank you.
Right. Just hand out Kevlar to everyone.
Right, we should get used to it.
And riot helmets, and just head to work.
The key is, if you're going to let somebody in, you got to know who they are. You've got to vet them. Yeah.
That's what Donald Trump has been saying all along,
from the get-go, he has.
Hillary Clinton had a different message, but now she's changing tunes.
She's becoming more Trumpian.
Listen.
I am absolutely in favor of and have long been an advocate for tough vetting, for making sure that we don't let people into this country.
I believe she mentioned the term extreme vetting. Where did you hear extreme vetting before? Only from me. Because I made up the term. I mean, I came up, I said, we need extreme vetting to come into our country.
I would imagine the reason she's changed her tune is because he's surging in the polls. Yesterday, her campaign manager, Robbie Mook, said in an email that Trump now has a number of ways to get to 270 electoral college votes. He says it's no longer a pipe dream, it's clear and it's real. Donald Trump can win.
Tim Kaine was out with the Hollywood higher-ups trying to assuage them that Donald Trump can win, that they are indeed on track. But when the top person on the ticket goes down under, we don't know what she did besides call into the Steve Harvey show and have a conference call. She blew up a fundraiser while Donald Trump had two major events yesterday. We'll have a town hall today. He's going right into those states.
That's what's so interesting, because she blew off her fundraiser event last night in North Carolina, where she's not winning. She used to be winning in that state. Right. She's not now. Trump is ahead by 1 point in that state. So you would think, according to this Elon poll, you would think that she would keep that on the books.
She does have something down in Orlando today. Let's see if she goes. In the meantime, 11 minutes after the top of the hour, and Heather's got some news.
Yes, good morning. We start out in the Midwest today, where this man was supposed to protect our country. Instead, a former National Guardsman will now serve 30 years in prison for an ISIS-inspired terror plot. Hassan Edmonds and his cousin had planned to kill up to 150 people at an armory in Joliet, Illinois. Prosecutors played this video in court showing them scouting out the armory. Watch and listen.
And if they all get to rush you, strikes first. Yeah, those are the ones who gonna respond. Yeah, who gonna have better response. They got more time in service.
Talking about stripes first, meaning going after those soldiers who are more senior. Well, both of these men were arrested at Midway Airport in Chicago in March of 2015. The two claim they never actually planned to carry out the attack. Well, overnight, a mystery odor making people sick in Northern California. The city of Vallejo, that's northeast of San Francisco, is now warning residents to stay in their homes after receiving hundreds of calls about a smell. Now, at this hour, officials say they don't know what the smell is or where it's coming from. They say, though, that they haven't found any traces of natural gas, so be careful out there. Will Rick Perry live to two-step another week on Dancing with the Stars? Remember this?
Also, Safar. Rick and Emma.
Oh my gosh, last night they looked like the Wiggles or Teletubbies or something. That's from last night. Former governor of Texas, Rick Perry, jumping for joy, having a great time. He survived the cut last night. Perry and his dance partner, that's Emma Slater, they had the lowest combined scores from the judges, but the fans gave them a Texas-sized boost to stay in the competition. I love his spirit.
Why did they get low scores? I thought he did a great job, and he's having fun.
I don't know.
I mean, look who he's going against. He's going against Megatron.
And Ryan Lochte.
Oh, that's true.
All right, Heather, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, the father of the bombing suspect in New York and New Jersey told the FBI his son was a terrorist. So how did that slip through the cracks? A former FBI special agent on what could have gone wrong. Back now with the Fox News Alert. New questions this morning about whether or not important warning signs were missed before the bombings in New York and New Jersey. The accused bomber's father met with the FBI in 2014 and told them his son was a terrorist. So how did Ahmad Rahami slip through the cracks? Let's talk to a former FBI agent and counterterrorism expert, Tim Clementi. He joins us from L.A. Tim, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, so the dad goes to the FBI, says, my son's a terrorist. And the FBI talked to the dad, and then a couple of days later, the dad changed the story, said, nah, he's okay. What happened?
Well, unfortunately, in an investigation like this, which really isn't even an investigation, for the FBI to open an actual investigation with a case file number on somebody, there has to be something substantial that leads them to believe there is a commission of a crime either being explicitly planned or in the process of being carried out.
Sure.
The father in this case makes an accusation after his son gets violent with his brother, and clearly he's got issues if he's stabbing his own brother.
Yeah.
But the accusation of terrorist was backpedaled on by the father, and there was nothing to prove that the son was involved in a terrorist plot in some way.
Right.
And in other words, if he had been meeting with an individual that was a known terrorist, if he had been communicating directly with a terrorist organization and the father said, look, here's the emails, here's the phone calls, here's the communications, that'd be something different that would allow the FBI to begin an investigation.
Right.
Or
And
go a little deeper.
Exactly. And the FBI didn't know that the guy had been, he traveled to Afghanistan and Pakistan repeatedly, became very religious, may have been radicalized along the way. But Tim, you were telling me earlier that one of the problems for our FBI men and women is the fact that, particularly with this administration, the PC culture has made it so hard to continue to investigate certain people who you'd really like to investigate.
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that we can't even look at somebody's heritage or religious background, in this case, a Muslim that is a Muslim extremist, a radical Islamist, that's what we need to look for. And it's like saying, you're in the battle against the IRA and you're not going to look for Irish or Catholic people. The problem is that that's who the IRA is made up of, and this group of radical Islamists is part of the Muslim faith. It may be, as everyone says, a small minority, but it still comes from that group. And to exclude that information from investigators, to not be able to look in that direction, is a mistake, and it's something that we've gone so far in political correctness to stay away from the term profiling that we're not able to do a regular investigation.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you detailed it that way. And we should point out that the cops who solved the crime, put all the clues together, did a fantastic job. But going forward, we got to make sure this doesn't happen again. Tim Clementi, former FBI guy, thank you very much for joining us live today from LA, sir.
Thank you.
You bet. All right, 8:20 now in New York City. Live from New York, it's Norm Macdonald coming up. You see what it said, 48 days away from the election and just 5 days away from the very first presidential debate will be held on Long Island at Hofstra University.
Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are getting ready in very different ways.
Now, Fox News senior political correspondent Mike Emanuel is live in Florida with a look at the preparations. And the big question is, will Mike, who was born in New Jersey, make his way to Long Island for the big debate? Mike?
I will be there, Brian. Good morning to you guys. Even though this is the final 50 days of this presidential campaign, we are not seeing much of Hillary Clinton this week. We are told a great deal of her focus is on debate prep.
I am going to do my very best to communicate as clearly and fearlessly as I can in the face of the insults and the attacks and the bullying and bigotry that we've seen coming from my opponent. You know, I can take it. I've been at this, and, you know, I understand it's a contact sport.
One thing Clinton aides have not revealed is who is playing Donald Trump in her debate rehearsals. That they are trying to keep a secret. Both candidates have plenty of experience from debates during the primaries, but the stakes will obviously be much higher on Monday night. As for Trump, his top advisors are saying, don't bet against him.
He prepares all of the time because he's a very brilliant businessman who's always taking in different pieces of information, weighing consequences and options. You saw him in the Commander-in-Chief Forum 2 weeks ago, Brett, where in all the post-forum polling, he clearly won. Why? Well, because I think that his answers are very concise and confident.
Trump's focus today is battleground Ohio, with recent polls suggesting he has a slight edge over Clinton there in the Buckeye State. As for Clinton, she's coming here to Orlando with the Real Clear Politics average of recent polls in Florida suggesting the race is all tied up at 45. Brian, Steve, Ainsley.
All right. Hey, Mike, real quick. Yesterday, Hillary had a fundraiser, I think, in North Carolina. She canceled it. There are all sorts of conspiracy theories online. Any idea why she did cancel it?
We have not heard anything official from the campaign at this point. She has done plenty of fundraisers in recent weeks. We've been told that so much of her focus this week is on debate preparation, but we have not been given an explanation for why that particular event may have been canceled, Steve.
Maybe she has enough money. All right. Mike Emanuel, thank you very much. Live from Orlando.
Thanks, guys.
Steve, you know, what I do hear is Hillary Clinton's going through every single one of the GOP debates. When they had 13, 15 people on the stage, and then when it down to 3, just studying different ways to unnerve him.
Well, she's trying to figure out which Donald Trump is going to show up.
Which buttons to press. So he's got to be prepared for that.
Look at Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz got under his skin a few times. So did Marco Rubio.
That was in the very beginning.
So let's see.
We'll have to see.
You'll see it live on Fox News Channel Monday night. In the meantime, right now, live on the Fox News Channel, it's the news with Heather.
Hi, good morning. Good morning to all of you. Hope you're off to a great Wednesday. Late last night, Hillary Clinton responding to the recent police shooting of an unarmed black man in Tulsa. Listen.
Maybe I can, by speaking directly to white people, say, look, this is not who we are. We've got to do everything possible to improve policing, to go right at implicit bias.
Well, that case is still under investigation. Many have accused the Democratic presidential nominee of a rush to judgment. Listen.
The hypocrisy is that coming off of the bombing suspect there in New York City, where everyone said you can't rush the judgment. Yeah. Don't be so impetuous in saying anything. And then what does Hillary Clinton come out and do? This is all about electoral patronage.
Well, another story to bring you right now. A military community is outraged this morning after seeing this shocking photo of a teacher stomping on a flag in the classroom. Lee Francis, the teacher, asked his students for a lighter or scissors to destroy the flag. He says it was all a part of a lesson on the First Amendment. Well, that North Carolina school is just 12 miles from Fort Bragg. Many people now want him fired, including this mom.
Personally, as a military family, to have someone do that, thank goodness that she wasn't in that class because of her personal experiences with having friends not come home.
Can you imagine that? If you had some family members or a friend of another student who had died serving our country, and then you see this, how upsetting that would be. Well, that teacher is now on leave and set to meet with school officials tomorrow. We'll bring you the latest. Thousands of runners who plan to take part in that canceled Seaside, New Jersey Marine Charity 5K run will now get to race on a 9/11 memorial run for free. The Seaside race called off over the weekend because of that bomb that took place along the race route. Authorities linking the New Jersey and New York bombs to the terror suspect Ahmed Rahimi. The Tunnel to Towers race takes place in New York City this Sunday. And those are your headlines. I'll see you here soon.
All right.
Thanks.
Busy news day. Thank you very much.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks.
All right, coming up straight ahead. We're not done yet. The White House finally admits we're at war with ISIS. Kinda.
When it comes to ISIL, we are in a fight, a narrative fight.
Right. Why is the administration so worried about words, and why it could mean victory for Donald Trump? That theory next.
And when she's not cheering on her husband on the basketball court, Steph Curry's wife is making MVP meals in their kitchen. Coming up, she is cooking for us.
All right, in the wake of the bombings terrorizing New York and New Jersey over the weekend, the White House says we are in a war of words.
In some ways, this is actually just a war of narratives. And so we want to make sure that we're getting out our counter-narrative against ISIL. And we're having some progress. When it comes to ISIL, we are in a fight, a narrative fight.
Our next guest says the administration is throwing adjectives while the terrorists are throwing bombs.
He voted for President Obama in 2008. He's won a lot of awards. He's a columnist for the New York Post and FoxNews.com. Michael Goodman, welcome back. So you really think, Michael, that this issue is making the administration look bad or mature?
Bad. I think what Josh Earnest said there is really one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in public life.
Said over and over again.
Yeah, he truly believes it, wants to put that out there, that it's a narrative war, a narrative battle with Islamic State. Look, I think that totally mischaracterizes the issue. I think it is clearly a real war, a shooting war, and we have to kill them or they will kill us. It's very simple.
This is what Donald Trump had to say about it last night. Listen to this and we'll get your reaction.
The President of the United States or my opponent, and both won't even say the words radical Islamic terror. In fact, Hillary Clinton talks tougher about my supporters than she does about Islamic terrorists, right?
Referencing the basket of deplorables.
Right. I think he's right on both cases. I think that there is this refusal to name the enemy for fear that somehow Americans then will hate all Muslims. It really shows a lack of trust in Americans, and Donald Trump is right that the attacks on his supporters are more vicious than anything Hillary Clinton says about Islamic State. And I think just politically, she is trapped here. She is part of the Obama administration historically, and right now she cannot break with the president lest the black vote doesn't come out for her. So therefore she's trapped in Obama's ideas, which are this narrative war. And I think Trump is freely going after the real issue, which is this is a real war.
Think about how different this was. George Bush was accused of bumping up his ratings by talking about terror attacks, and because the country used to rally around when that happened. This president goes the opposite. After terror attacks, he still doesn't want to talk about it.
Right.
There's no proof he even called the governors of each state on Sunday, and on Monday, while he spoke, they captured the 28-year-old. He didn't even have knowledge of it.
Right. Yeah, that speech on Monday by the president just showed how bored he is with this issue. He regards it as a distraction. He does not see it as an existential threat to the United States. He's made that clear many times. I mean, the history of him demeaning the Islamic State as the JV team and saying they were contained. I mean, everybody in the fight, including in his own administration, basically says it's not true. They are gaining strength. They are gaining recruitments. Even though they are losing some territory over there, the number of attacks have multiplied and their ability to attack has increased. So I think the president is telling something that people don't instinctively believe or trust, and that is really hurting Hillary Clinton.
The news is coming to Trump. In this case, it's helping Trump.
Events have a vote, and events are breaking in his favor.
You're right. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Well, when she's not cheering on her husband on the basketball court, Steph Curry's wife, Aisha, is making MVP meals in their kitchen. Coming up next, she's going to be cooking for us, Brian.
But first, if anything's left, we're going to give it to Martha McCallum because she has promised to promote her show, and she's also has first dibs on any of the leftovers from our show as well.
Thank you so much. We'll take those.
And I'll see you on radio.
I'll see you on radio coming up this morning. Thanks, Brian. So good morning, everybody. We've got 5 big days until the debate, and there's a lot to talk about. Violence in Charlotte, questions about what the FBI knew about the New York and New Jersey bomber. Rand Paul is here. Lindsey Graham is here this morning. The battle over whether 9/11 families should be able to go after Saudi Arabia for damages. It is a heated battle. The president is about to weigh in on that. And Brad and Angie, celebrity marriages, they never last. Bill and I will see you at the top of the hour.